Yeah. Welcome back to another segment with Envision Lake Charles, and we have another super special guest,
Wow.
Ms. Paula Simien. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here with us, and we're going
Pleasure.
to dive back into a few things. We were talking about economic development,
Sure.
And community development, and you touched on a few key points, man. Let's recap a little bit about what you said about what the importance of economic and community development is to you.
Well, in order to grow a city, it starts with economics. How do you pay for it? And it's not just how do you pay for one specific part, but how do you make that, leverage that so it pays for everything. And so that's why I was talking about making the pie bigger with more ingredients. You need to do that. And
You know, and the unique thing about that, when you talk about development and things of that nature, the center of it, in my opinion, and I'm assuming it would be the same, is the community. You know,
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
community,
Yeah.
the community investment part. Let's dive, deep into that. Let's talk about community investment, the importance of it, and how do we go from where we're at, like you said, a 4-cylinder engine, to that 8-cylinder.
Okay.
To really tapping in on all of our potential.
remember we talked about making the pie bigger with the ingredients? Well, Donnie, the most important ingredient is the human resource, I mean, without people creating businesses, working, getting jobs, it doesn't work. So we've got people out here that some of them need to make true living wages. I mean, they got to support their families, and that should be the aim of what we're trying to do. So for instance, there's, and I lean on my faith a little bit to lay the groundwork for this one. In the Bible, in Genesis, the first chapter, God creates everything and says how good it is. Second chapter, he creates man, and he realizes man wasn't meant to be alone, so he created woman as a helper. That's the generic. But after that, the third chapter, the serpent showed up, and the family as a traditional structure has been under attack ever since. So we've got families out here that need as much support as anything else. So part of your economic development is how do you bring in the economics and develop, but how do you reduce the things that's going to drag it, like broken families, crime, things like that. So, and you can't fix everything, but what you can do is start eliminating the reasons not to. Like for instance, right now we have an expungement program. I run across kids who they made mistakes when they were 18, 19 years old, and they've got a scarlet letter against them, and now they're in their 30s and 40s. They've got children, they can't support them, child support, the children out there, the streets are trying to raise them. So I would like to work with the Calcasieu Parish District Attorney's Office and the other municipalities, because this is not just a Lake Charles thing, this is probably a nationwide thing.
Correct.
And get people that opportunity. I mean, if you qualify and get your record expunged, now you can go out there and get a TWIC card. A TWIC card is the entryway to going into these plants. There's a lot of plant workers that are retiring. They have to keep replenishing. Those jobs can be 6 figures. Can you imagine? We had a workforce development program at the Community Foundation, and we talked about how it was to get somebody, a breadwinner, a true living wage job. And they were talking about in terms of people. I said, let's not talk about it in terms of people. Let's talk about it in terms of families, because if that family has a true wage earner that comes in, then that lifts that whole family up. Now, I've worked with people that got expungements and had their records expunged, but I made them, part of the participation in that program is if you got child support obligations, once you get this job, that child shouldn't be a liability to this or collateral damage, so you need to get that caught up. And to my surprise, that was the second effect of that, where the guys are saying, look, man, I pay my child support now, I can't see my child. I said, well, you're gainfully employed. That child needs a father and a mother. So you take that. Now that's the family, but then the family has to have protection. So now you got to put them in housing. We need to have a robust housing program for even if it's first-time home buyers. There's a home program that the city and parish operates where they go in, they'll help you with financial literacy issues, get your credit scores up. Some people qualify, they'll get their down payment assistance and closing costs, and you put them in the homes. And not everybody's meant to be in a home, but those that do want to be in a home and want to own a home, they should have that opportunity because now they're investing in themselves. And the one thing I did see, especially in my area, the northern part of Lake Charles, is wherever you have opportunities for home ownership, then a few things happen. People become concerned about crime in their neighborhoods. They become concerned about how the community looks, and they be concerned about school performance. If you can eliminate those three issues, now all of a sudden some things are going to take root. You know, mustard seed,
Yeah.
it's a mustard seed, but once it takes root, it's a force to be reckoned with.
That is right.
So what we're dealing with here now, we've got all this economic energy and all these opportunities, but what I'm seeing right now are these I call it a donut hole. If you look at the northern part of Lake Charles, and it's spread now to the eastern part of Lake Charles, you're seeing more and more businesses boarded up, failing. You're seeing houses starting to dilapidate. You're seeing an imbalance where you get more and more rentals now, which lends to more transiency, and it's starting to affect everything. So we have to address that, and I'm not going to say that it's impossible to do, because some people, they're just not going to be helped. But those that want to, not only do they need hope, but they need opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
And I think you're spot on. And we hear this thing, and we're going to pivot a little bit. We hear this thing about the city of Lake Charles, and it's almost to where it's just it's first and second nature, where you say North Lake Charles, South Lake Charles,
Right.
East Lake Charles, West Lake Charles, Central Lake Charles. How do we truly, and we're talking about community,
Sure.
how do we become one Lake Charles and become one community? Not, I'm only worried about North Lake Charles in the Fitz and Ryder Road area, or I'm only worried about Country Club Road area because that's the board that I serve on, or things of that nature.
Right.
How do you, as a leader, right, as a mayor for one Lake Charles,
Right.
how do you bring us all back together to where we can say, if we have something going on in the South, we want to invite people from the North. If we have something going on in the North, we want to invite people from the South, and so forth and so on. How do you bring that? How do you bridge that gap?
Well, you just said you got to build the bridges, but it can't be you come over. It's got to be, people have to understand why it's important that you have to cross the bridge in the first place. Why is a thriving North Lake Charles good for South Lake Charles? Well, when I said the I-10 corridor, what it could generate, that tax money is not only enough money to refurbish and do a lot of things in the northern part, but that can fix a lot of things in the south. The people that are in North Lake Charles now and East Lake Charles, they go to South Lake Charles and go shopping. So we already have that energy, but it's just a matter of letting people understand that this is why it's important for each of us to cooperate and do together. Because if there's certain things that would, like I said, there's certain things that would locate on an I-10 corridor like a Buc-ee's, that would generate,
Yeah.
you could pay for a bridge with,
Yeah.
with the
Mega
generator from that.
millions.
And that can help you build the traffic problems that's in South Lake Charles. We got drainage. We've got public safety. Even on the human resource side, I said that we have some very, very talented people in the city, but there's no place for them to channel that energy, and the streets are waiting for them.
Yeah.
So we need programs, whether it's through recreation, education, training, or just social opportunities that can get people to channel that energy into something positive that's going to benefit us all. Because I guarantee you, there is some talent that's waiting to come to the surface that's going to surprise the daylights out of us, but it's going to benefit us for generations.
I agree. And when you're looking at Ms. Paula, this is more so for you, the community aspect. How was it raising children in a city that, even though they don't say it's divided, you can tell in just different pockets of pools of people the division. What is your take on the community aspect with that regard?
My children really thrived in the community. We wanted the children to experience maybe all the community. We're pretty open-minded about all people. We love all people. We're concerned about all people. So we wanted in a school that was really culturally diverse. So we believe in all people coming together, learning about each other. And maybe if we do that early on, we might not develop all those stereotypes that we put on each other, which are really just meant to degrade people.
Correct.
So the experience living here has been at times a challenge, but we found out how to do it as a couple, as a family, very well. My oldest son is Marshall. He's 29. He's recently married, a year married, lives in
Congrats.
Indianapolis. He loves God. He loves people. He's a good moral person, which is most important. Highly educated computer engineer, manager at his steel corporation there.
Yeah.
You know, my August is 25. He is a chip off the old block. I guess they all are in different ways because he's in law school. You know, at Tulane, he has one more semester.
Wow.
Doing very well. And he is just like my husband, very community oriented and leadership. They both are. I'm just saying my oldest son is in his firm doing that. And then my daughter is 18. She's at Texas A&M. She's a little superstar academically, like they all were. Made her straight A's, and
Oh, wow.
she is contemplating the legal field. And so
She doesn't want to be a lawyer, though. She wants to be a CEO.
she wants to be a CEO of
yeah.
something.
She's
going straight to the
she's the
top.
bossy one.
That's it.
She sure is. But what I'm saying is, as you can see, they're well-rounded kids living in Lake Charles.
Yeah.
But I think as you live, no matter where you live, you have to have an open mind to people and the right spirit, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I agree. That's absolutely incredible hearing that, hearing your take on, because Marsh said something totally different about him. No, but that's great. You know, and we've been talking about community investment and the empowering aspect of that. And Marshall, you know, before we get out of here for this segment, what would you say to your fellow citizens about your capability of bringing this community forward and beyond? What would you say to them?
I said, just look at my track record. I'm transparent. My track record is out there. I will put that up against anything. When I first got on the city council, I was advocating for District 8 because that's what I represented. And I remember one of the more seasoned councilmen said, look, I'd like to remind my new colleague here that he's not just a councilman for District 8, but he's a councilman for all of Lake Charles. And I reminded my more seasoned colleague that last time I checked, District 8 was a part of the city of Lake Charles. By the time I got off the city council, it was no doubt that I was a councilman for all of Lake Charles. And that thrived. And I mean, I came in during the hurricanes. When I left, we had the strongest economy in the country, and you could see our population for the first time in decades started to grow.
Wow.
Because we were always in the 70s. Our population pre-pandemic had gotten into the 80s according to the latest census. So the fruit, you know them by their fruit, go check out my fruit.
Wow.
I'd like to say something.
Sure, go ahead.
Marshall loves Lake Charles. This is home.
Yeah.
Okay. After college, he left, got his degree, came back. We've been here 25 years professionally.
Yeah.
I always tell Marshall that he was groomed for the position. If you look back, he has an undergraduate degree in government. He has a law degree. 33 years business attorney, a business attorney, and also representing families. He's been in city government for a good 20 years. He's been on the different boards and councils of every major council board. He knows how the city works. He knows the people. He knows the heads. He knows the actual people. He's concerned about everybody's community. He can speak the way he does today because of all of that experience in education. So it just seems to reason that he is the man for the job.
I agree.
Thank you.
Nice. And that's great, man. It's been quite revealing to hear your aspect on what we need as a city and what we must do as a city. Yes. There's no debate that we need to make some transitions and obviously for the betterment of the entire body of this city of Lake Charles. So,
if I could say one more thing,
sure,
Ms. Donnie. We are here in the community. we have been talking with you, talking with the radio stations. We've been talking for months now. You don't have to ask him if he's community minded or will he be there or whatever. We're
He's
here.
there. Yeah, he's
And
there.
we've always been here.
That's it. That's great.
And you know, Donnie, the thing is, when I talked about where we were before and we got complacent, we can't afford to be complacent. I mean, these storms, and I keep going back to this, I'm not trying to belabor it, but it's a reality. My daughter, she had 4 years of high school where she did not have a high school. I mean, she went to St. Louis. St. Louis was in modular buildings all that time. I was concerned about her going to a place like Texas A&M where they didn't go through all that. How would you compete academically? And she showed that, look, the cream can rise to the
Resilient.
top. And that's what this community has, and that needs to be harvested, encouraged, and strengthened.
That's
so I want a stronger Lake Charles.
That's it. I like that slogan. A stronger Lake Charles. We're gonna adopt that. So sit tight. We're gonna come back with another segment of Envision with Lake Charles, not just with Marshall, but with Miss Paula as well.